Savage Harbor is part of the Vinegar Syndrome Archive Collection, celebrating forgotten cinematic oddities from the video store era. This collection was inspired by the Vinegar Syndrome video store, the Archive in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Unique to this line, each hand-numbered limited edition release will come fitted in a specially designed, bottom-loading VHS-inspired slipcase, while also including a double-sided poster. These releases will only be available on our website and at participating brick-and-mortar retailers. Absolutely no other online stores will be stocking them. This release is strictly limited to 4,000 units and will never be re-released in another version. Joe and Chris live a life of high-seas adventures, working as merchant seamen. But after arriving in port in Los Angeles for a brief leave, Joe meets Anne, a desperate young woman with a sordid history of prostitution and heroin addiction. As their romance builds, Joe realizes that he's falling in love, but soon Anne's former pimp, Harry, tracks her down, kidnapping and brutalizing her with the intent of forcing her back under his control and into her old ways of life. Determined not to let her go, Joe and Harry form a two-man army to rescue Anne and take down Harry and his thugs once and for all. A brain-busting mid-'80s action extravaganza in the Executioner Patu vein of mind-numbing sleaze, Savage Harbor, also known as Death Feud, also stars Greta Blackburn, Anthony Caruso, Nicholas Worth, and Lisa Loring. Directed by notorious exploitation film auteur Carl Monson, Vinegar Syndrome Archive presents the worldwide disc debut of Savage Harbor, presented in a new 2K restoration of its original camera negative, directed by Carl Monson. Starring Frank Stallone, Christopher Mitchum, Greta Blackburn, Lisa Loring, Anthony Caruso, Nicholas Worth. 1987 90 min, 1.851, region-free Blu-ray. Newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm camera original. Do you like avocados? A video interview with actor Frank Stallone. Audio interview with cinematographer Jack Beckett. Double-sided poster. Reversible cover artwork. English SDH subtitles. A group of 4 friends, traveling the West Coast, arrive in a small town with a strange history of its residents disappearing mysteriously. What's more is that the town's elusive doctor, Dr. Schaefer, is rumored to be conducting sinister experiments on the town's youth so as to combat the aging process. As the group of young travelers find themselves embroiled in a diabolical scheme of medical madness, they realize, perhaps too late, that they are Dr. Schaefer's ideal specimens. A troubled production from its mid-'70s beginnings, Evil Town started life as Dr. Shaggett's and was helmed by various directors at different points, including a young Curtis Hanson. In the early 80s, producer Marty Rustam bought the film and further retooled it, adding additional moments of sleaze and a strange subplot brewed from his own film, Evils of the Night, eventually retitling it Evil Town. This bizarro mutant film epitomizes the lengths producers would go to remarket their work for the video era. Vinegar Syndrome Archive is proud to present Evil Town on Blu-ray for the first time, featuring a fresh 2K restoration of the original camera negative, directed by Marty Rustam, Larry Spiegel, Curtis Hanson et al. Starring Dean Jagger, James Keach, Robert Walker Jr., Doria Cook Nelson, Michelle Marsh. 1985 82 min, 1.85.1. Region-free Blu-ray, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm camera original. Audio interview with director Larry Spiegel. Compare and contrast, a comparison between Evil Town and Evils of the Night. Double-sided poster, reversible cover artwork, English SDH sub. Following the trend of raunchy direct-to-video sex comedies popularized in the early to mid-'80s, director Rick Sloan decided to take his own stab at the subgenre, creating the surprise hit franchise Vice Academy in 1989. Featuring the comedic exploits of undercover female vice cops who go head-to-head with everything from smut film producers to arch-villainesses with plans for sexual world domination, each film mixes TNA with broad slapstick humor and hijinks. Starring iconic scream queen Linnea Quigley and erotic film legend Ginger Lynn Allen, the Vice Academy series was a staple of late-night TV throughout the early to mid-'90s. Known for their absurd plotlines and surprisingly robust and colorful visuals, Vinegar Syndrome Archive presents Vice Academy 1-3, all newly restored in 2K from their original 35mm camera negatives and together in one handy collection. Directed by Rick Sloan, starring Linnea Quigley, Ginger Lynn Allen, Karen Russell, Elizabeth Caton, Julia Parton. 1988-1991, 272 min combined, 1.851 special features, region-free 2-disc Blu-ray set. Newly scanned and restored in 2K from their 35mm original camera negatives. Newly recorded commentary tracks by director Rick Sloan for all 3 films. Head of the Class, an interview with co-star Linnea Quigley. Going Undercover, an interview with co-star Ginger Lynn Allen. Limited edition of 3000. Brand new artwork by Tom Hodge of the Dude Designs. Double-sided poster. Reversible cover artwork. English SDH subtitles. The residents of a small border town find themselves under siege by a vicious biker gang who get their kicks from unfettered brutality. When Stryker, a hardened Vietnam veteran who's in the area visiting an old friend, learns of the goings-on, he becomes determined to put an end to the violence by any means necessary and begins to assemble a ragtag militia. A rough-and-tumble, biker-themed action film which evokes the feeling of AIP's 60s classics, though filtered through a nudity, violence, and crazy stunt-fueled canon-era sensibility. Simon Nocturne's Savage Dawn stars Lance Henriksen, George Kennedy, Karen Black, and Richard Lynch. Featuring heavily gelled cinematography by Gerald Fiel and a score by Pino Donaggio, Vinegar Syndrome Archive is proud to present the world Blu-ray debut of Savage Dawn, newly restored from its original 35mm camera negative. Directed by Simon Nocturne, starring Lance Henriksen, George Kennedy, Karen Black, Richard Lynch, William Forsythe. 1985-903 min, 1.851. Special features, region-free Blu-ray, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm original camera negative. Commentary track with director Simon Nocturne, original theatrical trailer, limited edition of 4000, double-sided poster, reversible cover artwork, English SDH subtitles. The Hell Riders are the most vicious members of a Southern California biker gang, so extreme in their activities that they've been pushed out of their gang and are now on their own, roaming the countryside on the lookout for people to terrorize. After attacking a stranded woman who manages to escape to a nearby town, the Hell Riders decide to pursue her, eventually ending up in the town as well, and begin violently taking out anyone who has the misfortune of ending up in their bloodthirsty path. A spectacularly trashy and weird 80s biker film from the exploitation dream team of James Bryan and Renee Harmon, Hell Riders is loaded to the gills with jaw-dropping, head-scratching, and mind-numbing thrills. Featuring Adam West and Tina Louise, and co-produced by exploitation legend Lee Frost, Vinegar Syndrome Archive proudly presents the world disc debut of Hell Riders, newly restored from its original 35mm camera negative. Directed by James Bryan, starring Adam West, Tina Louise, Renee Harmon. 1984, 88 mins, 1.85. Special features, region-free Blu-ray, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm original camera negative. Straight to Hell, an interview with co-writer-director James Bryan. Original storyboard excerpt gallery, limited edition of 3000, double-sided poster, reversible cover artwork, English SDH subtitles.